Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Steve, number 51. Thanks for joining us this morning, or if you're watching us on record. Everybody seems pretty inclined to look back on 2023 or take a look at 2024. We're going to do a little bit of that today. I'm going to talk about some of the things that I see for our business and with our customers going forward in the new year. I mean, I think our some are probably pretty well accepted. Maybe a couple I have some different thoughts on whether or not they are going to be critical to business or something that's going to be more of a nice to have. And so one of the pundits I listen to more in the politics and economics space will always sort of warn listeners when he's going to go off in the wilderness and just do some rank punditry. So I thought that was a good tagline for today's episode, really, because we're going to focus on just some ideas, maybe even some thought experiments for you as you think about your leadership and your organizations and what's going to be top of mind and critical for you. So the first thing I wanted to cover is that, return to the office continues. And it's really led to, a renewed focus on office spaces, technology, collaborative approaches, the way we sort of build our culture in person again. Not the least of which is here at Apex. We've gone through maybe the last 2-3 months of really working hard to refresh the office, make it a welcoming space, adapt it to things that have changed in the last 5 years, whether it's people or technology, our approach to the business, and reflecting it in the physical space, right? It was time to get rid of some of the more traditional technology devices, maybe like, trade show touchscreens and backdrops, and replace them with modular spaces and new approaches to hoteling. We've even taken it up with some of the devices. I know I've spent a lot of time talking to the audience about Microsoft Teams rooms and how we do a lot of that work for customers and do it for ourselves. We've expanded our Teams rooms concept into some new spaces too. We have a lounge area with a Surface Hub. We just spun up something that's a cross between a dining room table and an ad hoc conference room we call the cafe. And so we've done that here within our own spaces, saying, hey, people are coming back more. We're bringing new employees to the organization as we grow, and we want them from day one to have the best of the hybrid experience. And so we've invested time and money and effort over the last few months to do that for ourselves. I really see that continuing with lots of our customers, whether it's full on rehabs or remodels, or whether it's simply trying to make spaces more welcoming, more modern. I feel like we went through this 10 years ago with sort of the first round of productivity technology, lots of collaborative spaces, low walls. Everybody was in the office though, and so it didn't need to have the same sort of flexibility that we need now. I think of companies back in Minnesota like Target and Best Buy, the new campuses that they built or would remodel 10 years ago, centered on everyday experiences, a Caribou Coffee and a daycare center at Best Buy, for example. Now, Best Buy, in addition to looking to reduce their property tax bill based on their usage of the property, are also looking for creative ways to say, what does the right space feel like for the 2 or 3 day a week employee, right? Who doesn't have that permanent office, who doesn't have the sort of 9 to 5 needs, but has different needs for touching down and coming in and working flexibly. I'd also highlight, some of our new partnerships, like with hardware partners like Neat, who have very creative devices like the Neat Frame that we're looking to use with customers in kind of those creative. Hey, I need to hop in a Teams meeting, but I don't want to, or maybe I don't even have my laptop on me, the frame provides that capability. Actually, here at Apex, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install it just outside the suite. There's a bit of a discussion on whether outside the suite is outside the suite, or it's the hallway and we need to ask permission. But we're going to install a neat frame outside our door, our badge door, for whether it's UPS or whether it's guests, to be able to use Teams and a virtual lobby experience to let us know that they're here. We need to come greet them, duck out of a meeting and come let someone in, or in the case that on occasion there's no one here, we can remotely buzz in the UPS or the FedEx delivery driver and have them be able to leave packages for us securely. And so we're really thinking about this topic as being key to what we want to do, is, support that return to the office, get that in-person collaboration and connection. Nothing really fully replaces that. I think we've all gotten very good at video. I think we've all gotten very good at collaborative experiences that are hybrid, but it sure is fun to see everybody. We'll see what my hotel night count looks like at the end of the year. As many of you know, Apex is based in Michigan. I happen to live in Minnesota. And so if the month of January is any indication, it looks like I'll be here, sort of 6 of the 20 nights when it comes to, business days. And so I'm already on a different trajectory to spend more time in the office. And I think many of your employees are on that same trajectory. So definitely a trend, investing in those physical spaces, investing differently in those physical spaces is going to be something that a lot of folks are doing. Employee experience, whether it's in person or hybrid or remote, employee experience is gaining a ton of momentum. Microsoft has its Viva Suite in this space. There's also a lot of startups and companies that really just focus on this space, making sure that we are able to engage employees, provide learning, provide feedback, provide the management or the guidance they need, along with the connection and sort of all the feels that maybe have shifted how we deliver that over the last 5 years. We've met with a number of partners, a number of customers, and even some vendors, over the last few months. And oftentimes the conversation comes back to employee experience, really saying, how do you get the kind of engagement you want with those employees to improve retention rates, to improve productivity, to improve, employee and therefore customer satisfaction. And so this is one of those areas that I know we're growing our capability in to be able to service our customers, as well as customers looking for new and enhanced ways to engage. There's always that, when you don't necessarily know what's going on, you sort of imagine the worst, right? Nobody imagines that there's a pot of gold in the closet. It's always a monster. And, when you don't see employees every day, when you're not constantly in meetings with them, sometimes as leaders, as managers, a bit of that creeps in. Well, how do we not oversee or sort of micromanage people, but how do we give them creative opportunities to engage that aren't just doing work, right? What does an effective town hall look like in this hybrid world, right? How do you manage? I've talked to a number of people in the last couple of days, and they really called out something that was interesting for me to think about, which is that the hybrid town hall is one of the hardest experiences to pull off, to really satisfy local and remote audiences, provide the same content, provide the same access and the same sort of outcomes across those two audiences can be really, really complicated. And so I know it's one of the things that we are focusing on, both as our own organization, but also as a capability we can bring to customers. We also are looking to partner for some of these activities, so stay tuned for some of that. but I think it's something that should be top of mind for you, right? Microsoft has had some products kind of kicking around in this space. Many of us remember, the fanfare of Yammer, Facebook for Work, 10 years ago. And now all of that is morphed into the Viva Suite, right? Filling a need, but not being sort of an end-all for your strategy. Many of you will have learning management systems. You'll have that approach to, business or technical learning. How do you integrate that with Viva Learning? How do you integrate that with goals and with Engage? And so we're really excited in this coming year to work with customers as they try and navigate this, because this one is big, because it kind of leads into this next thought that I have looking at 2024, which is, I just don't see the world changing dramatically, and so capital and talent are going to remain very tight. On the capital side, interest rates have risen. The era of sort of free money seems to be over for a period of time. We can have an economics discussion someday, preferably in a social situation at happy hour, perhaps, versus a Fridays with Steve lecture. That sounds awful, but just don't really see capital markets, loosening up tremendously. There's some optimism, but the immediate return to, say, the capital markets of 3-4 years ago probably isn't an immediate kind of thing. Couple that with the talent market. We see the competition for great talent continuing to challenge our customers and challenge us, right? We've had a couple of instances where, we moved a little slow on a candidate we liked, say for a delivery or a sales and marketing role, only to have, that person either, go a different direction with their career, or in a couple of instances, companies come back. Oh, wait, you're leaving? Here's more money. Stay here, right? I'm not a big fan of that as an organization. I think there's some pitfalls when it comes to counteroffers and accepting counteroffers. Again, save that for a different day. But the talent market is tight, and so the reason employee engagement flows into this is just like any subscription business. The subscription you keep sometimes is easier than the subscription you go sell, right? It may not seem like that. All of us are cell phone customers, and they seem to be more than willing to let us churn off of their platforms and go to T-Mobile. But for the rest of us in the real world, I'd rather retain a customer. I'd rather retain an employee than go through the process of searching out a new one. And so I think this has to be key to your strategy for next year, is to say, yes, how do I navigate? What do I need to do differently in this tight talent market? But I think the better question is, obviously growth is growth, but what is my turnover rate, and what are the things I can do in this hybrid world to try and address that? Whether it is tools and platforms, whether it's executive and leadership approaches, whether it's different investments in your employees, all of those things should be on the table as you think about ways to sort of fight this challenge in 2024. And the last official one really is artificial intelligence, Copilot, generative AI, large language models, sort of however you choose to sort of frame the situation and think about it. It is here, right? I think we've worked with a lot of customers and done some things internally, and have got some great learnings, from this first year of Copilot and OpenAI and ChatGPT and all those kinds of tools really becoming mainstream. A lot of hype, a lot of promise. I think a lot of folks can see, instances, whether it's in their business or whether it's in their personal life, where some of these things are going. What it means for you now, though, I think is a much more critical question. When I think about the kinds of things that we're finding value in, productivity gains, satisfaction gains, right now, it's honestly kind of some of the smaller things. I'll tell you the number one thing I love is meeting recaps. The generative AI, the Copilot, being able to look at recordings and transcriptions of meetings and really getting pretty good at meeting summaries. We've started to use them a bit internally. Someone misses a meeting, or we are doing something, say, with a partner or a vendor, and we want to capture it and use it. Having that nice summary, having actually some captured action items is super, super useful. Another place we're using it in sales and marketing is really around image, branding, really applying some shortcuts to copywriting, not end all be all, not, push a button, publish to web, but really giving everyone a head start on that creative process. Transparently, this morning, I said, hey, let's experiment with Microsoft Designer. And so all of the pictures on these slides were prompts that I used. Give me a cartoon businessman shaking hands with a friendly robot in his office. And if you'll notice, I ended up with a floating briefcase. I left this image in simply because I thought it was a good example of this is a pretty powerful tool. But as Instagram and Photoshop errors shows, people, love to be like, hey, this image doesn't make sense because, Kim Kardashian has an 11th finger or something like that. It's obviously Photoshopped. There are those same challenges in this space as well, right? It certainly isn't perfect, but it is a great jumpstart to the creative process. For a guy like me, and for this use case, it was actually kind of useful to have something like that exist as an artifact. And so, I think it's the start small approach, right? It's really doing the things that make sense within your business versus jumping to AGI, jumping to autonomous vehicles, right? Those are hard problems. Autonomous vehicle on city streets in the rain, that's gnarly. Helping a salesman or a saleswoman prepare for an initial sales call. Give me, financial and corporate information on company X. Please include the last 3 headlines from PR Newswire and AP. And then, boom, we've got a brief that's at least a starting point for someone in sales to be knowledgeable when it comes to that initial customer meeting, right? I check websites, I look for news, I do all those kinds of things. I have to retrain myself to say, hey, is Copilot, is generative AI something that I can use in this space and it would really be of benefit? Also on the sales and marketing front, I think about competitors, right? Competitive briefs. Hey, what are they up to over there? What are those guys on the other side of the fence up to? And so I think we're starting to use it in those situations that make a lot of sense, that are relatively straightforward and still contain a high degree of personal touch and context. I know I've seen some things on LinkedIn that, there are beginning to be like prompt writing classes and things that really are looking to sort of teach and educate people the best way to do things. I don't know about the rest of you. I learned by doing. And so, just like the effective Google search from 20 years ago, I feel like we're kind of in that phase where, some folks are just getting better and better at doing those prompts and figuring out the kinds of things that work, the kind of things that are useful, but also the things that are extraneous, right? At my polling place, the last time I voted, we've switched to kind of a digital lookup of voters for the precinct workers. and it had a search function, and people were trying to use the search function, but they were entering in people's full names. And so then obviously one little mistake, am I Steve or Steven? Is my middle initial in there, or is it not? Is it Thompson with an O-N or an E-N kind of thing? I actually, I maybe not surprising to many of you, but I couldn't help myself doing just a smidge of search education for these folks saying, hey, less is more, right? STE, STEV, how many Steves are there, or how many Steve T's are there in the city of Independence, Minnesota? Hint, not a lot. But by typing my full name, they were really struggling with the system. And so the prompts for AI are a little bit like that, right? Knowing when is it enough? And then even probably more importantly, when it's too much. And so look for those things that are already in place in your business, right? They're hands-on tasks. There's tasks that aren't being done. Maybe there are things that you know could be enhanced. Start there, right? Don't start on automated or AI generated marketing campaigns with content targeting and calls to action. Let's start with the copywriting. And so the last one for 2024, once again, the Vikings will neither be in nor win the Super Bowl. Really going out on a limb here as a Minnesota guy. But again, this is, hey, show me a sad businessman at a Minnesota Vikings game. This was one shot, and I got this back, and I thought it was pretty useful. And so it provided a nice backdrop for my last prediction. So that's it. Just a few thoughts about where we're headed in 2024. Would love to partner with you, make Apex Digital Solutions, your technology and solution partner, whether it's managed services, professional services, purchasing Microsoft licensing, or any software or hardware needs that you have. Really looking to grow our business. We've got great customers. We do amazing things with them. Lots of new customers and new opportunity. And so if you are a customer and have questions or interest on any of the topics we talked about, reach out to your account executive or reach out to sales, or just reach out to me directly, sthompson@apexdigital.com. I manage a nice clean inbox. And so if I see something from one of you, I'm going to notice it right away and would love to have a conversation. So that's it. Thanks for joining us on the 2024 kickoff of Fridays with Steve, and we'll see you again next time.